Look, these Sunbelt battleground states, frankly, for the Joe Biden campaign, these numbers are an absolute disaster. The smallest lead is in Arizona for Donald Trump. He's up 6. Look at this, 9 in Georgia, 13 in Nevada. My goodness gracious, my God.
Ain't nothing changed, nothing new here to see. This ain't nothing but some political maneuvering.
America.
Welcome to the eulogy, eat it up. It's called political buffoonery.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome to This Week in DUMBmocracy, where we showcase some of the dumbest newsmakers of the week. As a general rule, I tend not to pay attention to a lot of polling before Labor Day in an election year. Polls this early aren't indicative of who's going to win in November, so I tend not to really look at them that closely. What I will look at them for are for trends and momentum, where to allocate resources, what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. Well, let's take a look at these polls right now from 6 battleground states. Donald Trump is winning 5 out of the 6 of them, which means his campaign's doing something right, and Biden is definitely doing a lot wrong. We're going to try to read some tea leaves with these polls and see what the Democrat hive mind is thinking with all of this. But before we do all that, please subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any other shows. And if you like what you're seeing here in this or any other video on the channel, you guys know what to do. You got to smash that thumbs up button, like, comment, share the show with your friends, all that good stuff, because all that, it all feeds the YouTube algorithm.
Can you feed me, Carbon? Feed me now!
Thank you guys so much for all that you do to help grow the channel. You know how much I appreciate all your efforts. And if you're a newbie who happened to find the channel for the first time, I'm glad you're here, and I hope that this video earns your subscription as we talk about the value of this New York Times poll that shows Donald Trump winning in 5 out of 6 battleground states. Now, again, I don't think polls before Labor Day are determinative about what the outcome is going to be in November. We're way too far out. But this is useful for a couple of different things. Looking at what narratives are working and not working, looking at different trends among the electorate, and looking at where resources should be deployed, what areas, what states, what battlegrounds are necessary to win the election. With that in mind, I think we're seeing Democrats, especially Democrats in the media, freaking out about these poll numbers. While we haven't reached those levels of panic just yet, it's certainly getting late early for Biden supporters, and let's go through why that is. What better way to find out what's going through the Democratic hive mind right now than checking out the reaction from CNN to these latest poll numbers from the New York Times?
Look, these Sunbelt battleground states, frankly, for the Joe Biden campaign, these numbers are an absolute disaster. The smallest lead is in Arizona for Donald Trump. He's up 6. Look at this, 9 in Georgia, 13 in Nevada. My goodness gracious, my God. That is a huge lead. No Democrat has lost that state since John Kerry lost it back in 2004.
Okay, so maybe they are panicking as much as that clip that I showed earlier.
Everybody panic!
How about these Great Lake battleground states? This is something that the Joe Biden campaign can work with. Look, Pennsylvania, Donald Trump up 3, but that's well within the margin of error. Wisconsin, Donald Trump up 1, well within the margin of error. And actually, a Joe Biden lead well within the margin of error, up a point here. This they can work with the Joe Biden campaign. This, the Donald Trump campaign, absolutely loves, and it looks like a lot of the other polling on the Sunbelt battlegrounds.
When you're looking into the numbers, why do you think Biden is doing better in the Great Lakes and Trump is doing so much better in the Sunbelt?
Yeah, the Trump coalition is changing. That's basically what's cooking.
Whoa, look at those numbers. Pay attention to the non-white numbers in comparison to the 2020 election. That's gone up significantly. When you're looking at Nevada and Arizona, you're looking at Hispanic voters, and it seems like those voters are moving into the Trump column.
Here, this is at least one of the big reasons why. So this is among likely voters in all these battleground states we just spoke about. Back in 2020, 84% of the Trump campaigns, the Trump coalition was white. Look where it is now. It's 78%. The non-white portion of the Trump coalition, it was 13% in 2020. Look at this now. It's 19%. So the Trump coalition is becoming more diverse. And of course, those Sunbelt battleground states are more diverse than the Great Lake battleground states.
You're looking at the Nevadas and the Arizonas here.
Of course, if you look at Nevada, Arizona, heavy Hispanic population, Georgia, heavily African-American population, with the Michigan does have some black voters in it, but Pennsylvania and Wisconsin are heavily, heavily white.
So we're getting racist up in this piece right now. So I don't think necessarily that Trump base has shrunk when it comes to white voters. I think that the base has just expanded to include more non-white voters.
Racial harmony, crossing the aisle.
As for Joe Biden, it seems like his constituency, his supporters, turning whiter by the day. And I'm not just saying with fear.
Fools and liberals.
Okay, add it all up. What does this say about where the race stands right now? We're talking Electoral College and the race to 270.
Yeah, the race to 270. It's advantage Donald Trump.
Oh, they're definitely panicking like that clip I showed earlier. I mean, look at that. He's 2 electoral votes away, they're projecting. We're only in May. That's pretty crazy. There's got to be a significant seed change to get Joe Biden over the top right now. Now, if you notice, I'm looking on the map right now, and I'm going to be predicting something here. They're leaving the states where Trump is in the margin of error, or Biden is leading in the margin of error, as toss-ups right now. But if Trump wins one of those 3 states between Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, then he's over the top for 268 if he maintains his hold on Georgia, Arizona, and Wisconsin. There's a lot of moving parts here, folks, so this is by no means a fait accompli. Donald Trump is not locked up anything at this point, nor should anybody think that at this point.
But he's not over the 270 mark just yet, all right? So if we flip Nevada, Arizona, and Georgia here in your lighter shades of pink, you add them to the states, and of course the 2nd congressional district up in Maine, which Donald Trump won last time around, that gets him to 268 electoral votes. If we keep Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania in the too close to call category, along with Nebraska's 2nd congressional district, Joe Biden at 225. So it's advantage Donald Trump, but Joe Biden does at this point have a path to 270.
Yeah, and right now, as you're pointing out, neither.
Yeah.
Neither there.
Neither there.
And we have a long road to it
Yes,
still.
we do.
Fine, I'm totally fine.
That sounded like a whole bunch of cope at the end of that, don't you think? It's a long way to go, folks, and he's not there yet. Nobody's there yet. Calm down. Move away from the ledge. Donald Trump hasn't won just yet. CNN is trying to measure the expectations of their viewers right now and making sure that they don't go off the deep end. But it's clear from these numbers that we've identified where the battlegrounds are, where money and resources should be deployed, where voter drives should be going, where Scott Presler should certainly go, and I think he's already settled in Pennsylvania. So it looks like the lines have been drawn and set for what's going to be happening in November. But the cope and the panic I saw on CNN right now, wow, it is a lot more palpable than even I thought it was going to be. And when we come back from the break, we're going to look at another barometer for the left, the ladies of The View, and see how they're coping with these numbers. And maybe we can get an idea of what the hive mind is thinking right here and what needs to be done to help drag Joe Biden over the finish line like they did back in 2020. Like what you see so far? Go ahead and smash that thumbs up button. Also, leave us a comment and tell us what you're thinking. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another show. To get a barometer of what the Democratic hive mind is really thinking, I'm not going to look at those members of The View that we know are in the bag for Biden. Not Whoopi Goldberg, not Sunny Hostin. No, we know what they're going to say. They're going to be in full panic mode about these numbers. We get it. But I want to hear what the other members of The View, the so-called more independent people who are on the show, like Sarah Haynes and Alyssa Farah, and see what they have to say. Let's start with Alyssa first.
Joe Biden has objectively achieved a lot on the economy. He did the infrastructure package as well. He has things to brag about. But my problem is this. He did an interview with Aaron Burnett, and he said, actually, you're better off than you think you are. That's a bad message. When people's grocery prices are up by 30%, you're saying, believe me, rather than what your bank account is telling you. He's got 6 months to come up with an inspiring, forward-looking message and get out there and talk about it. And for us, I think it's important. I engage Trump voters, and I don't do it to make them feel shamed or to attack them. them for where they are, but to talk about what a second term could look like and how dangerous it is. I think that's how we need to be using our voices. And the campaign, the Biden campaign just has to get more active.
We? Who's we?
That's how we're going to be using our voices. She's in the bag for Biden, too. The whole show is in the bag for Biden at this point. If she's not going to be neutral or even objective, really, then, frankly, she's useless on The View. She's just another one of the cronies like Whoopi Goldberg, Sonny Hostin. It's kind of sad to see, really. But I want to focus on what she said about the Erin Burnett interview. In fact, we already talked about that interview in a previous video last week. You can find that in the top right-hand corner of the screen. Just click on it, and it'll take you right to that video, or wait till this video is over and then go check it out under our videos tab. Yes, Biden has the wrong message, and we pointed it out in that video. Don't believe your lying wallet. Believe what I'm telling you, Biden's saying, and that is definitely the wrong message. At least Alyssa recognizes that. But then to go into the tank for Biden the way that she did, and to openly collude with other friends of her on The View here and say this is what we need to do to stop Trump, that's pretty disgusting in my opinion.
Well, I would say when you say the Biden campaign has to get more active, I actually blame the media slightly. We talked last week a lot about how I don't think people are able to watch this Trump trial 24/7. Like all the time. Like it's a still shot, it's a picture of a door, it's all this stuff. Now, we're talking about we're in a campaign. We should be hearing more. We always say, why don't we hear from the Biden administration? I don't leave that all on the Biden administration's door. The media needs to cover things.
The media needs to cover Biden more. He's the president of the United States. You're telling me they're not covering him every day? Is it the media's fault that the Biden campaign is not getting their message out effectively? He just did a sit-down interview with CNN that was just discussed. If that isn't trying to help Biden, I don't know what is. Does the media have to drag him across the finish line like Weekend at Bernie's?
Here we go.
What else should the media be doing? What else is the media not doing at this point? The left-wing media that is out there is already all in with Biden. They're trying their best, I think. I don't want to stick up for the left-wing media here, but this is a pretty interesting call to action almost by Sarah Haynes here, saying that the media has to do more to help Joe Biden. It's sort of a naked admission that the media has to influence voters in favor of this lame president.
For example, abortion is a winning issue for Democrats, women's reproductive health. Vice President Harris did an event last week. I couldn't find any coverage on it. And that's a Democrat's winning stance. I also think that there was an asylum regulation decided on with the border. Everyone has agreed the border's a problem. Didn't see any coverage on that because we're busy watching the Donald Trump door not opening.
And don't forget Nikki Haley. Her win. Didn't she win?
What?
Dynamite drop in, Whoopi. I don't think anybody's mentioned Nikki Haley for at least 2 months, but okay.
Didn't she
She got like 150,000.
Yeah. But I mean, then also you've got last week, our incumbent president stepped in to do a speech on anti-Semitism. They cut to the speech, came back and talked about Donald Trump. So what's happening here is Donald Trump is Donald Trumping us. It's deja vu from 2016. And the coverage, the irony is the people covering that news thinks they're getting one up on Donald Trump while they're handing him a lot of votes because of the coverage. It's ridiculous.
It's almost as if the strategy of using lawfare has backfired on Democrats to the point where Donald Trump is winning without even really campaigning. He's sitting in court all day in a sham trial, in my opinion, dealing with legal issues while he's winning because the American people are seeing that this lawfare is nothing but a way to stop Donald Trump from running for president. Meanwhile, Joe Biden is out there for the whole world to see, trying to say that your wallet doesn't matter because everything's being good, Jack. Everything's all right here in the economy, and you just don't know what you're talking about. Meanwhile, Sarah Haynes is saying that the media is not doing enough to help Biden out. They're not covering passing regulations. When is the last time you cared about the passage of a regulation by the federal government? When was the last time that was front page news? Especially in light of the fact that there's so much other front page news going on all over the place between the Trump trials, what's going on college campuses, what's happening internationally, anti-Semitism run amok everywhere. But a regulation? That's what you want to talk about? But a speech that Kamala Harris gave? That's going to trump, no pun intended, the big news of our time? Come on here. This is even more cope coming from the ladies of The View. It's kind of what I expected to see. There is panic. There's a lot more panic than I thought there was going to be, because I don't think they're being rational about these poll numbers. They're instructive to everyone running. They're instructive to Democrats and to Republicans. They're instructive in that the current things that the Biden administration is doing on the campaign trail, the lawfare and the interviews that he's given and the speeches that Kamala Harris has given that are virtually non-existent, it's not helping, especially in battleground states, especially with non-white voters, which is really interesting because you would think of Democrats as the party of diversity, right? Meanwhile, it's Trump's base that's becoming more diverse by the month. As for Donald Trump, you now know where to focus your resources, your money, and your people. You know where to bombard campaign ads. You know where to visit more often. You know where to get people out to turn out on voter registration drives. Get those local Republican parties out there and signing up new voters. That's what the county GOP should be for. That's what your state GOP should be for. Get them out there. Get those voters signed up. Just don't build up in Florida or Texas. Go to Pennsylvania with Scott Pressler and start doing voter registration drives everywhere you can. Go to Arizona and do the same thing with Kari Lake. Do the same thing in Nevada. Do the same thing in Michigan. Yes, even Michigan, where you're behind a little bit. Build up your voter base there. Put some money and resources into there. There's a clear roadmap for Donald Trump to win in 2024, amazingly. There's a similar roadmap for Joe Biden, but the road seems to be a lot harder now. He's put himself in a deeper hole because what he has done so far has not worked. Democrats are right to be panicked. They got a lot of work to do in the next 5 months or so. But hey, listen, that's just my opinion on all this. Let me know what you guys think about these interesting poll numbers. Do you put any stock in them as far as who is going to win the election? Or like me, do you think that these poll numbers are only indicative of trends and momentum? Let's talk about that in the comments. And as always, like and share the video with your friends. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any other shows. We got a lot to discuss in these comments. Let's get a little wonky, discussing all the shenanigans and buffoonery happening every day this week in DUMBmocracy.
All views and opinions expressed here are not necessarily of the mainstream media and may offend some listeners. It's called political buffoonery.